Hola clase, soy el señor D, aquí con otro video. Hoy vamos a hablar de las interrogativas. Gracias, Carlos. Just so you know, this is a cognate here. Interrogativas, interrogatives. You interrogate someone, you're asking them questions. So you need to know that this means question words. They are interrogation words. So we're looking at a list here. Repitan cómo, de dónde, dónde, qué, pronounce qué, quién. Next column here. Cuántos, cuándo, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Cuál y cuáles? So rápidamente, let's translate these. ¿Cómo? You've seen throughout the year. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo te llamas? It's a very simple word meaning how. And remember, ¿cómo te llamas does not literally mean what is your name. ¿De dónde? We use that to ask where someone's from. ¿De dónde eres? From where? And remember, from is de. So where is donde? So down here we can put where. De also means of in Espanol. We started to talk about the word que. ¿Qué es? What is it? ¿Qué? ¿Qué significa en inglés? What? ¿Quién? ¿Quién es? ¿Quién eres? We've used this in class. Who? Sí. ¿Por qué no? Okay. Moving up here, we're looking at the word cuántos. And if you pay attention in class, you've heard me say cuántos años tienes. Has nothing to do with how old are you. It means how many years do you have, which means how old you are. So we get lost in translation sometimes. So cuántos literally translated how many. I can say cuántos estudiantes en la clase. How many students in the class. ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? ¿Cuándo es tu cumpleaños? Your brain should be like, oh yeah, that's when. When is your birthday? Okay, in Español, en la clase de Español, I'm always looking at you saying, ¿por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué no? ¿Por qué is why. And this is one of the coolest things in Spanish. One of my favorite things to talk about in Spanish 1. ¿Por qué means why. See how it's two words, accent on que? If you want to say why not, you can say ¿por qué no? ¿Por qué no? And then the answer to why is this, which is the word because. Wait, that's not right. Because. ¿Por qué? So look at that. It turns into one word, no accent, pronounced a little more in a statement-like fashion. ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Por qué? ¿Cuál? Very tricky to understand the perfect understanding of it, but ¿cuál means which. Also in translation modes, sometimes we could just translate it as what. ¿Cuál is typically used when you have a choice of items. I know we say ¿cuál es tu estación favorita? Because you're sort of picking between the estación. ¿Cuál es la fecha de hoy? Which is the date of today? Like you're picking what date it is. ¿Cuál always needs to be followed by a verb. So we say ¿cuál es? Which is. You can never say, like I ask you the question, ¿qué día es hoy? que dia, that's not followed by a verb, so we have to say que dia instead of cuál dia es tu favorita. So if you know that it means what or which, if you have more questions, we can talk about it during one of our day 2 study times. Cuáles, that is just the plural form of cuál. I'm just going to write which as plural here. And I'm just going to leave it at that. We'll discuss it more durante la clase. Alright, we are now breaking into an entirely different grammar idea here that you may have begun to notice. And I'm just going to throw you out a very little basic idea here. So we already know the pronoun yo, meaning I, and tú, meaning you. We also know the idea that Mr. D said that there are 3 types of infinitives in Spanish. And there are verbs in Spanish, they always end in AR, ER, IR in the infinitive form. Once we change those verbs, they are not infinitives anymore. And here is 2 ways we change verbs. So let's look at a verb from your paper that's not on the bottom here in our examples. So let's take the wonderful verb of working. So this verb is trabajar, and it means in English to work. And right now we have 2 infinitives. English infinitive because it has 2, Spanish infinitive verb ending in AR. We are now going to change the verb to make it agree with the subject, and that's called conjugating. You know what? Let's just make it an infinitive itself. To conjugate. To conjugate means that we change the verb. Change the verb so it agrees with the subject. We're going to change the verb so that it agrees with the subject. So here's what we do. We are going to take off the AR and add an O. So I want to say I work. So you want to say I work. We take trabalho. We take off the ending. There's the ending. And we simply put an O there. And we now just said I work. You don't want to say yo trabajar, that means I to work. You want to say yo trabajo. The other form we're looking at is the tú form, which we're going to use to ask questions. I mean, you could look at someone and say, you work. And that's not really even a command. We're just telling someone, you work. Like a habitual action. You work every day. But that's not that common. We're probably going to ask, do you work? But anyway, let's just look at the conjugation. So, tú trabajas. Take off the AR and we're just going to add AS. So here's the ending that we just added to trabajar. Now, you notice that this is ES right here. So AS works for AR verbs, ES actually works for ER infinitives and IR infinitives. So if you have the verb vivir, you take off the IR and say vives. And that would say you live. Oh, by the way, can you change this to an R there? And I have no clue why. I just realized I just gave you all AR infinitives here for practice. I wanted to give you some ER and IR verbs. Let's just add them. Number 7. Tú with correr. And we'll do ocho. Yo. Well, let's do tú with comer. I didn't say this before, but yo actually gets applied to AR verbs, ER verbs, and IR verbs. So that's the same ending for all three. Okay, I think there's one other thing I'm going to explain to you on this video. We have a bunch of questions here that you're going to answer. Also, you're going to just conjugate this. So this one says yo hablar. We're going to conjugate it. We're going to rewrite this as yo hablo. And remember, in Espanol, you are not required to have that yo there. You can just say hablo. That means I talk. So we're going to do that for all 8 of these problems. And also, after this video ends, you're going to answer all these questions and start to translate some of these idiomas down here. But let's write a couple things in up here. I'm going to teach you an idea of questions. So, in Espanol, if we are trying to translate do you speak, like we want to ask the question, do you speak Spanish? Or do you talk Spanish? Speak, talk, it's the same verb. Maybe I want to ask someone, do you run? Maybe I want to ask someone, do you eat? Like, do you eat hamburgers? This do here is not translated. It does not have a translation. It's a helping verb, linking verb. It's helping ask the question in English. But we do not translate do. And what happens in class, everyone raises their hands. They're like, Mr. D, how do you translate do? And I say, you don't! You don't translate do. Well, you kind of do, but it's just an upside down question mark. And then here's you speak. So we have to go to the verb hablar for speaking or talking. Hablar. But we need to make it in the you form. So we're going to take off the AR and say hablas. And that's basically the question right there. Do you talk? If I want to, I don't have to. I can't do it. If I want to, I can put the pronoun after the verb. That's how it works in question forms. Hablas tú? Now let's just be a little more specific with another example here. I want to ask someone, do you eat hamburgers? So, do you eat ham? Let's just do ham. Do you eat ham? Shorter words. How do you translate do? You don't in this situation. We just need to translate you eat. So I write comer, but that's not correct. We have to conjugate the verb because comer just means to eat. We need to say comes. If I want to, I can write to there just for some emphasis or clarification. Comes tú jamón? Jamón. And then someone can respond with a yes/no answer. Now, last thing I want to say here. We can put question words here now too. Comes inside of any question means do you eat? But if I want to, sorry, I'm writing here because I'm running out of space. I can write ¿qué? And that means what do you eat? Gracias por escuchar. And answer those questions now. Y adiós, y que te vaya bien. Nos vemos.